Look at these weeds. They're nearly as tall as me. These are on the opposite side of the fence, so they're on the verge next to the plot, which is obviously on our small holding, next to the lane, next to the road. And this section here always grows because, of course, when I'm watering the plot, the water and the nutrients also run down into this area, and it's just taking over and it looks terrible. And I've also got far too many weeds in this bed that the onions came out of. Now the Californian poppies are beautiful, and I think there may be a bit of calendula in there as well, but everything else is weeds and it needs to come out. And equally in these beds under the netting, I've got my vegetables and they're looking great, but there's a lot of weeds coming there as well. So I really need to get on top of it, but it's all too easy to not start because it just feels so overwhelming. Where do I even begin? So it's actually 11:45 and I only came out over to the plot at about 11:30. I've done a bit of foraging for Victor, but I'm really late today, and I'm later than I normally would be. But instead of beating myself up about it, I'm just going to accept that's what's happening today. And today I want to talk about not just my gardening and how that helps my mental health, but other things that I can use to help support my mental health. One of the things I'm really proud of is that historically I'm like a roller coaster. So I'm up, I'm climbing, I'm on top of the world, everything's amazing, and then bam, I crash, and I'm like, how did I get in this hole? And then I climb back up and I'm like, do you know what, it's okay, up I go, and then I crash. But as I've got older, I've started to learn to recognise that I'm climbing, so when I hit the top I might fall. So I still kind of like riding those waves. I think that's part of a really rich and full life. I never want to, two very large and noisy motorbikes have just gone past. I never want to live a life that's just flatlined, because to me that would mean I'm never experimenting, I'm never trying anything new, I'm never having adventures. But I can lessen, if it was an ECG, instead of it going boop, 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 I want to have these nice, smooth waves instead. And as I say, I don't mind having some troughs because those highs are so worth it, but not so extreme, because that's really not good for us at all. And if any of you can relate to this, I'm hoping that some of the things that I use might also help you, or somebody that you know. Or you might just find them interesting things to do. So as I say, I've foraged for Mr. Victor. I haven't let him out yet. He'll be perfectly happy in his little house, but I do like to open his little door up and let him out. I'll refresh his water in case he wants to get in and have a little bath or a drink, and then he can have his breakfast. Or it's kind of nearly lunchtime, but I'm sure he'll forgive me. So I've watered everything here in the polytunnel. The temperature's dropped to about 6 degrees overnight last night, but it warms up in the day, not just here in the polytunnel, I mean outside. So the actual plot, again, it was nice and damp over everywhere. Because of those dips in temperature, we're getting that moisture. So the plot's absolutely fine. I've watered in here. And again, back to mental health. I come in here and it fills me with joy. But on a bad day, I can walk in and go, oh my goodness, some of these peas are dying. I haven't harvested the lettuce and there's a bit of rot happening at the bottom of them. They're starting to soften off. I've got things going to seed. My herbs aren't looking as well as I would like them to. So I could walk around in a real funk and think, oh, nothing's good, nothing's right. But I can walk in and go, God, look how tall these beans have got. The peas that are alive are fabulous. I've been picking and snacking on them. I can pull these out, and actually this is mustard. And it's actually started, because it's gone to seed and I've left it, I've got these little seed pods, so I can dry these and have some lovely mustard seed to use when I'm cooking. So it's a positive, turning that negative into a positive and looking around at all the good things that I've got in here. And I think, much as I love social media, here I am making a YouTube video, and I have my Facebook page and my Instagram page. If you haven't already found them, do go and check them out. I'll leave links in the description below. But it's very easy, isn't it, to compare ourselves with, if you're on an allotment, your plot neighbour. If you live on a housing estate, your next door neighbour, or if you've got neighbours. I mean, I don't actually have direct neighbours because we're out in the sticks. But it's also easy to compare ourselves to friends, relatives, neighbours, plot neighbours, but even more so YouTubers, the Instagram posts, the Facebook posts, and all those social media posts where people are showing perfection. But is that actually real? I could only film the good bits where everything just looks just so. And actually sometimes, now that I've painted the shed and it's looking so pretty, it's very Instagrammable, isn't it? And it makes me feel good. But I think it's really important to show the real bits as well, because nobody can have perfection in every area of their life. You show me a person who is genuinely built like a supermodel, with the perfect garden, with abundant harvests, with no weeds, who looks perfect every minute of every day, whose dog never gets any mud on them, whose house is immaculate. These people don't exist. But if we were to believe what we look at in magazines and on social media, you could really drag yourself down and make yourself feel like an absolute failure. And I think it's really important not to do that. Good morning, or should I say good afternoon? Are you sulking? Come on, out you come. Come out when you're ready, mate. So let's leave Victor having his brunch. Kaylee is just out of camera, but she's lying in the sunshine. Chris has already sorted the chickens. The horses are all settled. I think it's time for a cup of coffee. So while that kettle boils, I thought I'd just talk you through a few of the things that I'm doing at the moment. So I've actually got a week away from work, much needed week away from work. And whilst I want to do lots of things, so get out in the garden, go for walks, go wild swimming, we've also recently both, Chris and I have bought some paddle boards. Chris is really enjoying the stand-up paddle boarding. I've converted mine, it's got a seat, and I've bought a double-ended paddle so I can use it like a kayak. And I want to get out and do all of those things, but I'm also very mindful that I have a very physically and mentally demanding job. Those of you that know me will know that I work permanent night shifts. I'm an emergency out-of-hours critical care veterinary nurse, and I'm the principal nurse manager of my clinic. And so with it comes a lot of responsibility. I love my job. It's really important to slow down. So these are things that I'm hoping to do to help me. I've also got some projects. I've ordered a few bits and pieces that should be arriving this week, so I'm hoping to be able to show you a particular project I've got in mind across at the vegetable garden, and I'm really quite excited about that. So I'm hoping to show you that later in this video as we progress through the week. But I just wanted to show you a few things. So this is a wellbeing activity book. It's by Amy Birch and it's illustrated by Kat Kalindi, I think you pronounce that. Let me just hold it up so you can see it. It's not sponsored in any way, shape or form. It's a book that I've bought, but I really like it. And I can highly recommend anything like this, because even when we recognise that we need to help ourselves, sometimes we get so stuck, a bit like with the weeding, we don't know where to start. So I'm going to compare this to what's going on in my mind to what's going on over at the plot. So I was showing you all those weeds earlier, and as I said, it'd be so easy to be so overwhelmed and I just don't know where to begin. But by just looking at one bed, or even a quarter of one bed, and doing that little patch, and then stopping and saying, do you know what, hey, well done me, I've achieved that today. Little steps, little and often, and we get there, rather than looking at the whole thing. And my garden, I really feel, is a representation of me. So there's so much beauty there and so much to enjoy, as in my life is exactly the same. I have so many wonderful things to enjoy, but sometimes it can become a bit of a tangly mess and we're only seeing the negatives and the bad things. So it's really important, as with our garden, when we stop to admire and appreciate the good parts, that goes the same with our lives. So sometimes we need that little reminder. So for me, it's having a toolkit to delve into, and I have talked about this in the past. This little book I found really useful. Sometimes we need that new inspiration and motivation. Now, old me was a bit of a stickler for having things that went cover to cover. This is a self-care activity through the season, so it does have spring, summer, autumn and winter. But apart from that, you know, you can just, even if I wasn't to do that, I can just flick through and open a page. Go somewhere new. This one can be as adventurous as you want to make it. You can think big and spin the globe to choose a new holiday destination, or you can refresh the everyday by taking a different route home, walking the dog around a different park, or visiting a cafe, museum or part of town that you've never been to. So it's basically saying step outside your comfort zone and do something a bit different, shake it up a little bit. And that's just the first thing I flicked at. That could be done any time of the year. But it's a lovely book, and as I say, I'm really finding it helpful to do those activities. And talking of activities, this is something that you may or may not have seen floating around on social media. The habit tracker. And I've actually created, again, let me try and show it to you, my own habit tracker. So it's 30 days. I've stuck some stickers on mine just because I happen to have them. So it's 30 days, and you can put whatever you want in it, and it's just little habits that you want to change. So examples on mine are to stretch, so do some yoga stretches, move my body, reach my 10k steps every day, drink 2 litres of water. They're just examples. 5 minutes of meditation. I've got a few on there, but you can put on yours what you want to achieve. The important thing is it's not a challenge, it's a habit tracker. So each of those has 30 days, and you can either cross them off, colour them in. I've actually got some really cute little stickers that I already had in the drawer, so I'm going to stick one on for each of the things that I achieve on each of the days. And it's not meant to cover every single one of every single days for every single one of the things that I want to create as a new habit. There's going to be little gaps in it. It's going to form, and do you know what? It'll form some kind of a pretty pattern and picture. It's just a little reminder, and the idea is that by the end of the 30 days, this will become new habits that you've formed that are going to be really good for your mental and physical health. So I'm really looking forward. I'm quite excited about starting that. Yesterday was my first day off, but I slept for most of it because it was off the back of my night shifts. But today is a lovely fresh day, and I'm going to try and start some of those new habits. Something else that I love is to send somebody a letter or a package in the post, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Send somebody a lovely card, send somebody you know a package. I've got this package here, and I'm going to incorporate sending this package, which will make me feel good because it's to one of my lovely friends, and I'm hoping she'll be very surprised. It's only a little something, it's nothing crazy, it's just getting something to the post. I know how I feel when somebody sends me something. But I'm also going to incorporate that into a lovely walk. It's only half a mile to my local post office in the village, and I may even incorporate that into a swim, because it's right next to the mere where I swim. So I can incorporate a few things into one. So I'm sending the package, I'm walking to the post office, and I might even have a swim. Or I might just take a book and sit and read by the mere. But that will be really good for my mental and my physical health, and it's going to tick off some of the things on my habit tracker. And then the last thing I wanted to show you in this kind of section, if you will, is I saw this, I did see it on social media actually, it was a little video clip, and it's Rewild Your Wellbeing, and I can't remember the name of the company. So the company is called Beyond Domestication, and you will see them, they have a Facebook page, I'm sure they're on Instagram. And this is the 7 Practices Challenge, and it comes with a guide. You can have a digital guide or a hard copy, and I'm an old-fashioned gal, and I do like to have a hard copy of things. So it comes with this guide, and the practices are food, water, air, sunlight, movement, mindfulness, and sleep. And they're written across the bottom of this absolutely beautiful. It's a little bit like an advent calendar. So it's got the little doors to open. I haven't started it yet. And it's not designed to be done in a hurry. It's not it's called a challenge, but it's not a I must do it challenge. It's designed to take time. So down this way we've got seed, root, sapling, tree. And then across this side we've got water, food, air, sunlight, movement, mindfulness, and sleep. And I won't go on too much more about it, but I'm really excited to start this 7 Practices Challenge. So it's just little things that I can put into my daily routine to just boost my mental and physical health. So I already have lots of things that I do, and I have made videos on those in the past, but sometimes we need to shake it up a bit. And as I say, it's a bit of accountability, a bit of inspiration, and a bit of motivation. So I'm actually going to make myself a cup of coffee, and it's lunchtime, so I'm going to have a bit of lunch, and I'll catch up with you guys either tomorrow or later on in the week.